Breaking news. A massive corruption scandal is shaking South Africa to its core, and the names at the center of it will leave you stunned. We're talking about none other than Deputy President Paul Moshatile and Gauteng MEC for Finance, Lebogang Male, two of the most powerful figures in the country, who are now facing growing scrutiny over their alleged ties to controversial businessman Edwin Sodi. And trust me, this isn't just another political scandal. We're talking about billions of taxpayer rands, government tenders worth over 10 billion, and shocking allegations that much of the promised work was either partially completed or simply left undone. This is not just a case of mismanagement, this is theft, corruption, and a betrayal of the people of South Africa. Before we get into the jaw-dropping details of this story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this is the kind of explosive content you don't want to miss. If you care about South Africa and want to stay informed about the corruption eating away at our country, then subscribing is a must. Also, drop a comment below. Do you think these politicians will be held accountable, or will this be yet another case of the rich getting away with crime? Now, let's dive into it. Who is Edwin Sodi, and why is he so controversial? For those who don't know, Edwin Sodi is no ordinary businessman. He is one of the most politically connected individuals in South Africa, with deep ties to the ruling party and key government officials. Over the years, he has been awarded lucrative government contracts that have made him incredibly wealthy, but at what cost to the country? Sodi's name has come up in multiple corruption scandals, but this latest revelation could be the biggest one yet. Reports indicate that he secured government tenders worth more than 10 billion, covering critical sectors like housing, infrastructure, and consulting services. In theory, these contracts were meant to improve the lives of ordinary South Africans, but instead, we are seeing a pattern of unfinished projects, wasted funds, and broken promises. And here's where it gets even worse. Sodi reportedly received full payments for some of these contracts, even when the work was never completed. Imagine that. Millions, if not billions, of rands paid out for projects that don't exist. And while ordinary citizens struggle with failing infrastructure, pothole-ridden roads, and a housing crisis, Sodi and his political allies are living the high life. The political connections that raise red flags. Here's where things get really suspicious. Sodi is a known associate of Gauteng MEC for Finance, Lebogang Male. Now, Male hasn't been directly implicated in the tenders, but let's ask the obvious question, why is a top government official so close to someone accused of benefiting from dubious deals? It's no secret that political connections often determine who gets tenders, and many believe that Sodi's relationships within the ANC helped him secure these massive contracts. And if that wasn't enough to set off alarm bells, there's also Deputy President Paul Moshatile. While there's no direct evidence linking him to the deals, his close ties to Sodi have led to intense scrutiny. When you're the second most powerful man in the country, your connections matter, and people are rightfully asking. Did Moshatile and Male help Sodi secure these tenders? Were these tenders fairly awarded, or were they handed out based on political favors? And most importantly, where did all the money go? Because here's what we do know, many of the projects funded by these tenders remain incomplete or have delivered substandard results. That means the money was spent, but the work either never happened or wasn't done properly. The impact on ordinary South Africans. Now, let's talk about the real victims of this scandal, the millions of South Africans who are struggling every single day while politicians and their friends enrich themselves. Imagine being promised a new home because of a government housing project, only to be left with nothing while someone else walks away with millions. Imagine roads in your community being marked for repairs, only for the contractor to take the money and disappear. Imagine living in a country where you pay taxes, but those taxes are stolen by corrupt politicians and their associates. That's exactly what's happening right now. The corruption isn't just about money, it's about lives. Every rand stolen from these projects means that a family remains homeless because their RDP house was never built. A child continues to walk miles to school on dangerous roads because the promised upgrades never happened. Hospitals remain underfunded, and clinics run out of medicine because funds are being misused. South Africa is a country crying out for leadership, for accountability, for justice. But instead, we see the same corrupt networks getting richer while the people suffer. The calls for an investigation. As public outrage grows, opposition parties and civil society organizations are demanding urgent action. The Democratic Alliance, DA, has called for the Special Investigating Unit, SIU, to launch a full probe into these tenders. DA Gauteng leader Salim Simanga has made it clear. This is a blatant misuse of taxpayer money, and those responsible must be held accountable. We cannot allow public funds to be misappropriated while communities suffer. And you know what? He's absolutely right. But will the government take action? Will the SIU actually investigate these deals, or will this be another case of the politically connected walking free while the country burns? What happens next? At the moment, Edwin Sodi has not responded to these latest allegations. Meanwhile, both Moshatile and Mail have distanced themselves from any wrongdoing. But distancing yourself isn't enough when people's lives are being destroyed. South Africans are fed up. We've seen corruption scandals before, and we know how this story usually ends. The rich protect each other, investigations go nowhere, and ordinary citizens are left to pick up the pieces. But it doesn't have to be that way. The power is in our hands. The more we expose these corrupt networks, the harder it becomes for them to hide. That's why sharing this information is so important. What do you think? Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this scandal? Do you believe Moshatile and Mail when they say they had nothing to do with these tenders? Or do you think this is just another case of politicians covering for each other? Drop your comments below because your voice matters. Let's get this conversation going and make sure that those in power know that we are watching. And before you go, if you found this video informative, do not leave without subscribing. We are dedicated to exposing corruption, bringing you the truth, and making sure that these stories do not get buried. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video far and wide. South Africa deserves better, and together, we will hold the powerful accountable. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop demanding justice. See you in the next video.